Hi. I want to thank you for joining me today. I have been wanting to make this video for quite some time, and I've tried several times, and my perfectionism just keeps coming out. So, this might not be perfect, but I need to just get going on it. So I'm just going to start filming, and I'm just going to start talking. Um, so, chakras. Okay, I've opened mine. The word chakra comes from the language Sanskrit, which I was reading last night is considered the mother language. I didn't know that, something I read. But everybody has chakras, and there are hundreds, if not thousands of them located throughout our whole body. But there are 7 really, really, really important ones that run from the base of the spine to the top of the skull. And each one deals with a different aspect of life here on Earth. When you activate the root chakra, what that does is it activates this, I believe it's a fluid or else it's something like chi. I'm not really quite sure. It's called prana. And every human being has it. And it's laying dormant at the base of the spine. And this originates from Hindu religion. There's a form of yoga known as Kundalini yoga, and the symbol of it is the snake. And the snake symbolizes the DNA, just picture how DNA looks. And so what it is when you activate the root chakra, the prana shoots up through the other chakras and you light up. And that fluid, that prana, whatever, it just courses on up through between the spine and the skull and connects you together. What this does is it pushes out the prana is like a spiritual type substance, I guess. I don't even know really what it is. I'm not really the guy for that, to be honest with you. I just go, I just do, I set things off. That's what I'm really good at. If I'm reading about something, it's a good indication I'm probably not going to do it. So with this, there's so much written about it that you can just go online, Google chakras, and there's a wealth of information. And if you find something really cool, send it to me, because I'm a student. I'm just learning. And I'm only here to pass this on to you because this is really working very, very well for me. And I know that the code in spirituality is if something is working for me, I need to pass that on to someone else who might need it. However, my life is mystical as fuck now. So it's very life-changing to do this. So I would read up a little bit before you start. Yeah, about that. I'm in the occult, I guess. And I suppose you all know that. You guys have been watching my Instagram for some time. It's just I was raised in an environment and I was taught as a kid that what I'm doing is actually very, very wrong. So I've had to fight that belief. As a very deep laceration on my spirit and on my body and on my psychological. So I've had to fight that conditioning every step of the way with this. But I don't really think there needs to be any division here with this sort of thing. It's very like it's Christian, it's Hindu, it's all one as far as I'm concerned. I have a lifetime of growing towards my Creator, not because I'm good, but because I'm bad. And not because I want to, but because I have needed to. I am both, yin and yang, and that's all I am. So I would prefer from calling it the occult to just calling it deep spirituality. And as I've seeked my Creator, this is where it's led me. So anyway, that's a little side note. Also, you may find in the course of this that you do not care for me or my personality, and that's okay. I would just hope that we could put the principle of what we're discussing here above the personality of the messenger. So yeah, chakras. I opened mine. They're all pretty much open. Still got a little ways to go on the third eye and stuff, but you know, we're getting there. Initially what happened was this, is I activated my root chakra. Essentially what you're doing when you activate those is you are plugging back into the spirit that runs the whole universe. It's like a computer program, and each chakra is a separate program dealing with whatever that function is. So I interpret the world very, very different now. But what happened was this. When I activated that prana, as that coursed through my whole being, what that forced me to do was all of the emotional, mental, and spiritual trauma of the 3D world that I've taken in and that has been passed down through my family through the DNA of generations suddenly got forced the fuck out. And it got forced out very, very quickly and efficiently. Basically, all I would do is throw on some Tibetan singing bowls, go on about my day, and just ugly cry as feelings would emerge. And a lot of feelings did emerge. You guys have been watching me all year. My posts have been consistently dark and sad, and that was the reason I was purging all of this shit out. But painful as that was, once it's out, it's out. Like, we're not talking about that anymore. That's not really a thing in my life anymore. And to my mind, it was either take 1 year, face everything within me I would really rather not look at, get it out, and then get on with the rest of my life. Or choose to ignore all of this stuff and then continue on for 40 more years and continue to live, be subconsciously driven by all this shit and continue to live a fucked up life and make shitty decisions because I'm being subconsciously driven by trauma. For me, that was not even a question. However, at the time, I was just going on instinct, and all I really thought was I was just found a very efficient way to remove trauma. This was a lot quicker than going to 12-step groups or a therapist or any of the other techniques I have tried before. This just purged shit the fuck out. But once everything got purged, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, so that was an uphill battle. And it's not all out, but I am on the downside now. I could actually start to feel the spirit of the universe coursing through my entire being. And when I say it is the spirit of the universe, what I mean is it is literally the spirit that runs the universe. So there is a spiritual tone to it, one that I have never experienced before. And when I meet the spirit of the universe, which by the way is love, and is on our side. However, when I meet it, my ego, between the spirit of the universe and my ego is the only one that thinks it's going to die. So in the sessions, as I allow my consciousness to expand with the spirit that runs the universe, my ego is forced to constantly die a slow death. Now, it's not completely gone, but a lot of it is. And the way that that worked was this. Since I had all of this emotional trauma, the muscle tissues in my body are what store that, unlike the fascia of the muscle tissue. So my muscles are contracting like this, and they're sending that signal to my brain. So my brain is receiving that signal like this and then sending it back down into the muscle tissue. And so what happens is my ego, built out of this, decides this is what reality is. So I sit in a session with a Tibetan singing bowl or whatever. Well, that muscle tissue, eventually it gets knocked loose from the tone, the sound wave hitting it, tears open the fascia, releases that emotional tension, that muscular tension. I ugly cry it out, but then the signal that it sends to my brain shifts from being this frantic thing to just this very light, airy thing. And so when that hits my brain, it doesn't respond the same way. Instead, my brain does this. And we come back to center. And what happens is where my ego was, right here, built out of all of the trauma, suddenly it's forced to expand. And that can be a very terrifying experience, because whatever my ego has done to say this is the way I perceive reality suddenly gets taken away, and my consciousness grows. So I have about a year of doing this pretty much on the daily, because I was committed to getting well, and I've rounded this corner. And I want to talk about that. So when you open up the root chakra is the color of red. Red is the densest color. It is the slowest moving color on the spectrum of color. The key, the sound frequency of the root chakra is the key of C. When we take piano lessons, all teachers will tell us we are going to start at middle C and work our way up. It is the base. Stop signs are red. If I fall from an airplane, I do not die until I hit the ground. So what goes on underneath that? Underneath the root chakra is darkness, the underworld. So let's get a little bit abstract here for a minute. So I opened my root chakra, okay? I became tethered to earth, realized, hey, you could keep going if you want. And I thought, you know what? I'm always the good one. I'm gonna go be bad for a while. And so that's what I did. And I descended down into darkness. And it just keeps going and going. And it was really, really fun for a while. That's how the darkness is. It's fun for a while. But what was happening, and what I did not realize I was doing, was I was drawing in a lot of darkness to me, a lot of dark energy, a lot of dark spirits towards me. And eventually, it got so uncomfortable and so unpleasant and so chaotic, and I could just feel this dark energy all around me. I was like, okay, it got so bad. In my worst moment, I thought, I'm gonna go commit suicide. But then I thought, wait a minute, Brian, this is yoga. You're supposed to be feeling good, so what's this? And all they really could tell me was, hey, it's your energy. So, you know, which dog am I feeding? Well, I'm feeding the darkness. Like, what the fuck you think it's gonna happen? Yeah, you're gonna draw that in. So then I realized, okay, you need to go up. So I opened up my crown chakra. And what happened was, in a meditation with that, is I had a lotus flower open up above my head. And then a week later, I turned into white light. And I don't want to scare anyone, but basically, I had an exorcism. And all of the darkness and all of the negativity of the 3D world was pulled out of me as I turned into white light. And then I ascended. And so I no longer occupy Earth in a three-dimensional capacity. I live in what the kids are calling the 5D, the fifth dimension. There's absolutely nothing about the way I perceive reality now that I could point to the 3D world and say, oh, it's just like that. It's completely different. And for a while, I thought I was just going crazy because the perception of everything around me is so different. However, I went into the darkness. Now, the darkness just goes, and it goes for eternity. But I found my bottom in it, and I do not wish to go back. So, to me, the darkness contracts. It ends in chaos and death. So, if one of them is going to contract, the other one must expand. So when I go up into the light, what happens? Well, my reality starts to look more like Interstellar, The Matrix, Blade Runner, and string theory. The way that I perceive Earth now in the 5D is so different because, like I said, think of the chakras like a computer program. So, to me, this is a matrix. And I don't mean like capitalism is a matrix and I play the game. I mean like it's literally like a computer program. That's how it looks to me. I'm going to shoot another video where I can demonstrate the chakras in nature, and you'll see, just as I did, that it's really all just one big computer program. This is also further evidenced when I opened up my heart chakra as well as my third eye, because with those two, you will see everything exactly the way it is. And like I said, everything on earth is just energy, waves of energy. And since my crown chakra is opened, and since I have purged enough of my trauma that kept me bogged down into the density of earth, I just naturally vibe a lot higher. So when I sit in chakra meditations now, the upper chakras, what happens is I start to perceive earth a lot higher, and I can really see people as just waves of energy. They get very dense at the bottom, and then they get very light up at the top. What I'm also going to tell you is this: because I have purified so much of my DNA back to the source, the way my internal world now feels is I no longer feel like a human being having a spiritual experience. Rather, I feel like a spiritual being that's having a human experience, meaning that I am just consciousness. This is all energy, and this is just my avatar, and that I actually exist in other dimensions right now at the same time as this one, because in the 5D, there is no such thing as time or space anymore. That's a thing that human beings have created that keeps us imprisoned. Now, I am not skilled enough yet to leave this reality and go into the alternate ones. There are people who've been doing this longer that can. The furthest I've gotten with that, though, is in a meditation where I literally saw all of these alternate realities open up right in front of me. It was a lot like the last scene in Interstellar when that guy goes down the hallway and there's all of those multiple realities. That's what it looked like. And later on, because I'm such a nerd, I went and IMDb'd the trivia on that, and that everything that happens within that movie is backed up by mathematics. So, good job, Interstellar. Pretty accurate. But what happened to my body when I was in that state was it stretched. And I could literally see the fabric of time or space. And I actually recognized I am just consciousness. And even though I am not here, I am here. Now, it doesn't constantly look like that to me all of the time. I have to be vibing very, very high. So let's discuss that. I went into the darkness, found my bottom within it. So the darkness can only contract. And that's not because it is bad. It's just because in the sacred name of yin and yang, if one is going to expand, the other must contract. You cannot have one without the other. So when I was living in the 3D world, here's what I did. Think of a yin and a yang symbol right here, okay? I found I was always obsessed with wanting to appear to be the good one, the right one, the correct one. And so what that meant was my internal world, anything that did not match up with my narrative of me being the good one, I would perceive as being bad and darkness, and I would shove that down. And then I would subconsciously project that out onto everything that I see. And what that would cause me to do is make actual choices in real time, because based on me being the good one, even though what I was really doing was committing evil in real time, because really all I was doing is I couldn't tolerate the darkness within me, so I'm projecting that onto you, and now I'm going to inflict that onto you so that the darkness can go away because I can't handle it within myself. That was my life a lot in the 3D world. I got better with it, but even that took years. This has taken 1 year, and since I've had to look at everything I would really rather not look at, I've purged all that. So it quits being this competition for myself to be the good one. I recognize that I am both, dark and light. And so what happens is, rather than it being an either or, it becomes a spectrum. If I want to go dark, I can go dark. If I want to go light, I can go light. But I am totally, always consciously aware of which way I am going. I pick and choose how I feel and how my day goes. It does not go the other way around. And in the 3D world, I was so bogged down by emotional trauma and whatnot that anyone could come to me and basically tell me anything, and I felt a need to participate. Whereas here, Right, let's talk about that. So the darkness contracts, the light expands. I realize, okay, I respect the darkness. I need it. I need it in the way of, like, we don't build a skyscraper on level ground. If I'm going to build up, you have to go down first, find the base, and then we go up from there. So in my internal world, I found as low as I want to go, and I never want to go there again. So I know for myself, it's better for me to go hang out in string theory. I would rather go there. It's more fun. Because let's look at the emotions that governed the darkness. The emotions that predominated that, it was a lot of selfishness. It was a lot of materialism. It was a lot of greed. It was a lot of, I need this, you have it, I'm going to come extract it from you, and then I will be happy. Even though I'll probably have to degrade myself somehow in the process. You'll probably get degraded in the process, and we'll both leave feeling just sort of degraded. And it's a very slow moving energy. Like, if I want to buy a guitar, I gotta go get a job, I gotta do the and in a few weeks we can have this. Cool. Those are the emotions. And fear, lots of fear. Those were the emotions that governed me down there. Now, as I go into string theory land, what are the emotions that govern that? Well, compassion, altruism, doing things just for the fun of it, not expecting any kind of an outcome. Over here, I tell the creator what I want, I go do some high vibing shit, and then just watch it unfold naturally, quickly. And it's more fun to just watch how it all comes together rather than me getting what I want, because it's just kind of fun to watch the universe do what it do. I need both, however. This one helps me survive. This one lets me thrive. However, I found my own personal bottom in it. I see how slow it is. I no longer want to engage in it. I don't really want to do it. I respect that it's there. I know that. Cool. I have no real desire to go that dark again. So, I know I want to stay over here vibing high in string theory. So I need to keep my vibe high at all times. I need to keep my energy high at all times. That is the goal. The goal is to vibe high. So my cutoff emotion now, whereas before it was pretty much free game either way, if something displeased me and just threw itself in my lap, I would spend pretty much the rest of my day reacting to it mentally. Can't fucking believe he did that, blah, blah, blah. Well, what's that doing? That lowers my fucking vibration. So now it's just a conscious choice, since I'm consciously aware of my emotional state at all times, to just greet lower vibrational shit with compassion. And then I go from there. Right. So everything is energy. And like I said, when I see people vibrating and actually see it as energy, it gets dense at the bottom, big at the top. I'm an alcoholic. And there's a million opinions on that disease, and there's a million opinions about how to treat it. I chose the spiritual route, okay? And I know there's a million opinions, but I'm going to just talk about what actually happened for me, just for me. I was told that this was a metaphysical disease. It was a spiritual illness. That in fact, the true alcoholism had nothing to do with me picking up a drink and taking it. It had more to do with how I thought. And the reason my thinking was so off was because my higher power was basically what you thought of me, which meant the money, my status, how I looked. That was extremely important. And the only thing that could make my brain shut the fuck up, because that's a horrible way to live, because the way other people think about you, is that even real? It's constantly in flux. There's no strong base there. And the only thing that would make the chatter in my brain shut up was by me taking a drink. Therefore, the last symptom you saw, other than suicide, death, insanity, or worse, living forever and drinking, was me actually picking up the physical drink. Because again, the material follows the thought. It does not go the other way. So now, I'm interpreting everything on earth only as energy, and that is all it is. It is all one. And the denser energy is penetrated by the higher energy. It coagulates and it creates what you're looking at right now. So planet Earth is dying because the systems that run planet Earth, our governments, pop culture, blah, 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 all that shit, you know what I'm talking about. Well, these systems tend to chase the material, and therefore they vibe very, very low. And they're teaching us we need to chase the material as well. Even though at the same time, they're feeding us all this garbage that psychologically shuts us down. And then they come tell us, well, you know, if you just grind it a little bit harder. Well, grind as hard as you fucking want. If you're psychologically shut down, you're going to grind hard into toxic things. That's all you're going to do. So that narrative doesn't really work. So the 3D world, the systems, they're all vibing very, very low. And they've got us there because they also have power and they're making decisions that actually really do affect all of us in real time. I resent, even though Paul Ryan, Donald Trump, those assholes, they're made of the same fucking energy and material and spirit of the universe that I am. In fact, they need this the most. They're the sickest. But I resent that I have to give my energy over to them. Because in the 3D world, they're in power, they're making horrible decisions, and the only thing I really had that made me feel like I could do anything was my angry Facebook posts or whatever. And really, all my angry Facebook posts would do, every time they would do something extremely unevolved, I would just say, look at this fucking low vibrational thing they did. Well, that kind of hurts them because energy does travel and it's important. But more importantly, that hurt the collective consciousness. And even more importantly, it only really hurt me because I just depleted my energy to engage with this fucking 2-year-old that doesn't even deserve it. So now, since I'm conscious of where I'm putting my energy, people come to me and they try to give me a bunch of drama. I know the lowest emotion I'm willing to go anymore is compassion, because anything after that is just unpleasant to me. So I just view it with an eye of compassion, and I choose not to engage. And there's nowhere for that energy to go but back on the person. And that's well and good, but these people have power. So what do we do about that? Here's what I'm proposing. We all have chakras. We all have prana. We just don't know we have it, which I find kind of suspicious. Actually, I don't find that suspicious at all, because from where I'm standing, it would appear to me that the human being has been enslaved. Because from where I'm standing, this really is literally a matrix. Time and space really is not real. And though I have a bunch of religious abuse on me, so I kind of have a hard time saying this, I'm slowly growing on to understand my own immortality. And I just think that if we as a collective can light up our chakras and come back online, understand our power, and everyone find their own individual bottom, and then just collectively we all decide that compassion could be the baseline. Or not, it's your energy, no dogma here. This is spirituality, there's no rules, there's no hierarchy. It's your energy, I don't really care what you do. And really, after today, me telling you, you have chakras, there's really nothing I could tell you you wouldn't figure out eventually if you would try it. I'm going to shoot more videos because I'm very good at taking these big mystical things and just making them very basic for people who might be kind of scared. Because, like I said, my life is mystical as fuck now. And when you meet the spirit of the universe, it is way bigger than me. Its ways are not my ways. And so sometimes, because my ego doesn't understand what I'm being shown, it registers it as terrifying. But then once the dust settles, there has never once been a time where I have regretted what I have just learned. I have never regretted my consciousness expanding, ever. And in fact, what happens is fear shows up so much right before the download that I've understood that the universe operates off of yin and yang. I have the fear, then I have the enlightenment. That's just how it goes. It's like the prodigal son. Go into the darkness, you'll come back to the Father. That's just how it works. And neither one is good or bad. I need both. But having heard fear a million fucking times, having heard my own self-pity a million times, having heard all these lower vibrational emotions, and looking at everything like a spectrum, what I've realized is like, why pick up the fear emotion? The 3D world, that's what's running the show there. And in the 5D, fear is such a base emotion that even should it crop up, I recognize it instantly as fear, and then we move on. I identify it, I leave it alone. It does not drive me. It goes the other way around. Also, since it is such a low emotion, I've heard it a million times, I know it goes nowhere. I've decided that I can pick up other emotions instead of fear. Like maybe if I'm about to get a download, compassion, gratitude, because, you know, the spirit of the universe is pulling me closer to it. And that's really all that's happening, is my ego and the way I perceive reality is dwindling, while the spirit of the universe's way of visiting the world is expanding. And the way it all looks to me is energy. I think if we all collectively come back online, and yeah, it's mystical, but you know, throughout this process, there were people who've been doing this longer than me that I could look at. And maybe, you know, their experience was a little bit different because, again, it's spirituality. There's no rules. So I'm just listening to people tell me how they did it. And I just take the parts that I like and I leave the rest. But all of it is really, really helpful. There's a guru in India touring, talking about it. I watched him, and not everything, and he's a guru, and not everything he says resonates to what is happening for me, and yet it's still all helpful. You could go have an experience, message me, tell me about it, and it would be helpful. My coworker, he's kind of doing some of this and he's reading about it, but every time he talks to me about it, it's more information because, again, this is very, very old and not much is known about it. So I think if we all collectively wanted to come back online, we could all sit and discuss the spiritual experiences we're having. It would be a less scary thing, and we could basically evolve out of this, an exodus out of the 3D world, and all of us go into the 5D and enter into the age of Aquarius. Because again, the densest material has to follow the most intelligent material. It does not go the other way around. So if we all awaken spiritually, and if you experience this, you'll see how big it is. Like, this reality is real, and people are suffering under it in real time, and I understand that. That's why I'm making this video, that's why I'm talking about it, and they're the people I want to get this to the most so that they can get free out of the binds that they're in. Basically, the only thing I want is for us all to light up and just exodus out of this fucking nightmare. That's all. So while I'm saying this isn't real, it's a matrix, no, it's very real, and I understand that it's very real. And I would do anything I could to change it. And so what I'm thinking we need to do is evolve spiritually and just exodus out, because this is so much bigger than that. That the systems that run planet Earth right now are so low vibrational, they will have no choice but to follow us. Because in this terrain, our money is the power. So when I opened my root chakra, I could no longer watch television. Not because television is fundamentally bad. And if there's something on there I really want to watch that's going to make me vibe high, it doesn't need to be good. It could be the bloodiest fucking movie in the world. As long as it's making me feel good. That's what's important. And that's what I'm conscious of. But a lot of what I see on television is very unrealistic. And I know when I was in the 3D world, I would watch that. And whether I like it or not, I'm taking it in. And that becomes my internal dialogue of how the world works, even though it is completely inaccurate. And then I go out and I try to live that and watch how that goes. It's a fucking nightmare. It's not in alignment with the natural world, which is why I can't really engage with it anymore. And then the crown chakra, that just tethered me to the Father of the universe. So basically, I'm tethered to the earth and I'm tethered to the Father, and pretty much everything else just kind of sounds like noise. It's not bad, it's just I pick and choose what I engage in. I'm very conscious of my energy now and where I put it. It is very, very important. So yeah, I'm going to just keep this short. I'll shoot more videos because I have more things to talk about with all this, because there's a lot to talk about. And I wouldn't suggest just rushing out and doing this. This is a very life-changing experience. So, but if it is something you want to try, you know, I would help you every step of the way. I will be with you every step of the way, because, you know, I kind of wish I could have just had someone maybe kind of take some of the there's plenty of mysticism to be had down the road, but initially it's just like, what the fuck is this? So I wish I would have just had someone that maybe wasn't so mysterious about it, that could just say, oh, you're feeling this because of blah, 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 and then just make it very normal, to kind of expedite the process. So, hey, maybe this video wasn't perfect. I've shot several of them trying to get the perfect one, and you know, that's a thing I'm healing, my perfectionism. Like, I think with this, what's more important is that I just start, and we just start putting effort into it, rather than it being perfect every time we do it. So thank you for giving me a couple weeks to kind of gather my thoughts. At that time, I was way in the light. I knew if I start talking one or the other, it would be a little out of balance and not grounded in reality. And the key here is that the light and the dark, neither one is good or bad. It's the compassion in the middle, and the harmony is where I want to be coming from with it. And I believe that I have found that. So, yeah. And really, guys, as far as this goes, the only thing I'm really doing is putting on Tibetan singing bowls and going on about my day. And when big emotions come up, I cry them out and get on with my day. And that's just how this occurred. So I have used Mother Earth's stones, I have used her tones, and I have used her nutrients to heal me. And now I want to turn around and heal her for the next 2,000 years in the age of Aquarius. And I want you to come join me in the 5D. It's way cooler over here, and it's way quicker. So anyway, thank you for your time. Yeah, I'll put the link up top. We'll talk again soon. I love you. Take care.